Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Before we dive in, I just want to see a raise of hands. How many of you are sitting on a platform today and wishing you could get more out of it? Yeah, that was us 4 years ago. We are Diana and Jen from MaryRuth's, and today we're going to share how we went from a single QMS use case and went into an AI-powered product record. But before we dive in, I'd like to properly introduce ourselves and let you guys know why and how we got to where we're at today. I'd like to introduce to you Jen. Jen has been my most trusted companion throughout the years. And Jen, we started our first time together, we were on a project, and Jen was building out the first documented product development workflow. And at the time, I was in quality, and I only had a tiny piece to contribute, and that was adding specification data for our product records. And little did you know, that was the start of our vision that was about to fruition. So Jen here, she's a powerhouse. She knows product development inside out, how it's going to impact the business, the customer, and even the people doing the work itself today. So for now, Jen is going to be presenting the business and how she got our shared vision and presented that to leadership. I am very happy to be with you on stage today.
Thanks, Diana. I have to say, when I started at MaryRuth's 4 years ago, I came into the company as an experienced project manager. I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm coming in. I've got 10 years of experience. I have this. This was my first time working in a regulated driven space. So I had a lot to learn, I found out very quickly. And Diana actually became a huge support to me, really learning the QA and QC components that built out the framework of how we lead our product development all the way through. Literally, my first assignment, my very first day, was build a stage gate system. So, yep, we did it. It's definitely out there and working, and actually Propel is a huge component of what sits behind our stage gate system, and we'll lead a little bit more into that. If anybody wants to nerd out about stage gate later, please, yes, let me know. But we're here to talk about Propel and what it has done for us. And I have to say, you know, Diana and I, when we started, we were actually kind of at odds in a lot of ways. Diana was taking the charge on implementing Propel. I was not convinced that Propel was the thing that was going to solve all of our problems. But anybody who has ever met Diana knows that she is one of the most out-of-the-box thinkers. And she has a very thorough dose of tenacity and persuasiveness, and she won me over 100%. And today we're very excited to be on the stage to talk about the efforts that have brought us to where we are. So with that, let's talk a little bit about MaryRuth's. If you're not familiar with MaryRuth's, and if your phone is out and listening, I'm so sorry, it's probably going to be all over your social media now. That just seems to be the way that it goes. But we started in 2014. Mary Ruth Guillaume was our founder, and she started the company based around this idea of liquids till lunch. Our very first product was a liquid morning multivitamin, which was very revolutionary, very innovative for the dietary supplement space. To this day, we actually have over 300 products in the market. We have grown since 2014 from being a D2C, direct-to-consumer brand only on Amazon to actually selling in more than 20,000 brick-and-mortar retail spaces in the United States and rapidly expanding into international market. So as you can imagine, not only do we have the complexity of different US considerations, every retailer has different requirements that we have to meet. We then are now also looking at very, very different regulatory considerations. Every single international market is different with dietary supplements. In case you didn't know that, that is a whole adventure for us. And so what we are always looking to do is figure out how we can have as much information at our fingertips, whether it is our packaging specs and material, raw materials, ingredients, formulas, and really looking at end-to-end traceability on every single one of our products. Internally, we have a project that's known as the Know Everything Project, and that is the goal. Know everything about our products and to be able to find it. I think probably within 5 to 10 minutes of entering the system, you have everything that you need to be able to hand that off. So that's a huge part of what we're going to be talking about today. And so I think with that, the best place to start, as many others have today, is let's talk about our journey.
So we started in the late summer month of August 2022. It was our first launch of Propel, and we started very small. We started with the first use case of using a QMS system that focused on complaint management, incoming inspections, and quality events. And that was it. We had nothing else planned, and that's actually what I loved about it. Every step that we took with Propel had great innovation, and it was building off of each other. So we would solve one problem, we would see results, the team would be like, can we do this now? And I would be like, yes, give me a little bit of time, and we can do it. So by 2023, or by the end of 2022, we had established our PLM, and we focused on creating all of the product data that was necessary for the teams to rely on. By 2023, we established all of our data, and our teams felt confident with the data we had on hand, and we were able to create processes and trainings around the type of data that was available to them. At this point, we had well over hundreds of requests for optimizations, and we were finally seeing a point where the teams found value in Propel. So by 2024, we were handling label management, change management, C of A approvals, a formula library, and then we were also enhancing quality systems at the same time. At the time, I built my first iteration of a laboratory management system for stability testing. I was enhancing the customer experience effect in Propel, and then I sprinkled in a little bit of creating a supplier audit system, and it turned out to be a great system at the end of the day. And if that wasn't enough, that year they brought up the concept of a product information management system, and Jen and I were like, let's take the opportunity that year, and in 2025 we established our PIM company-wide for everyone to use. Now in 2026 we're tapping into AI, and we're going farther than we ever have before. But the main concept of this whole timeline is that we didn't shoot to the stars immediately. We started small. We found a place where we could actually drive value, prove the value, and it then fed into the next expansion. And every addition we made just made everything with Propel a lot better.
Yeah, so with that, just quick connection of the dots. Very early stages, Diana and I were absolutely at odds. We were opposite sides of the house. She was very technical, I was very business, couldn't see the vision, couldn't understand what Propel was gonna do for me, what it was gonna do for my team. So in that, we eventually got ourselves to the point of really being able to lean into that QMS foundation. That's where we started. And then from there, we were able to continue to build upon that with PLM, really leaning into PIM as well. And that has actually been a wild success for us, probably more successful than we anticipated. And with that, we're really moving into and looking forward to our AI integration as we're actively building this out. So as we look at this, it has really proven to be the right platform for us to make all of this possible. So what does this look like in a CPG space? What does this look like for a dietary supplement company?
Yeah, so when people ask me why Propel, me and Jen, we geek out a little bit because this is where like all the great functionality comes into play. So the first one for me, it's highly configurable and customizable. It's low code, no code option meant I can just build fast, reiterate, and just work quickly by myself. And that is great when you're moving in with a company as fast as MaryRuth's. We're always trying to be agile. The next point is that it's focused on continuous improvement, and that's essentially what my role is. So Propel really brings that structure to help me improve and bring in all that great functionality that MaryRuth gets to be the leader and make the change as fast as possible in the industry. And then we have a great effective change management happening in Propel. We have well over 300 products, and every one of them has a product change, and it is very complex, and in order, and Propel really gives us that foundation to capture everything without everything falling off the cracks. And with the last point, it's built on Salesforce. So it gives us that ability to have strong permission controls. And we live in an industry where we have formulations, we talk to our suppliers all day, and then we have our quality events. So having that strong permission allows us to control who sees what and when, and it keeps our data secure and clean for any audits that occur. So on the business side, Jen is going to give us the options why Propel is so great.
And of course, we can't talk about it without talking about dollars. Everybody has to, on the business side, has to be able to sell this to their leadership. And it's always been a very easy conversation for us to really be able to bring that ROI forward with incredibly competitive pricing for what it is that we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish, which has just been, for me, very, very lovely to not have to worry about. We're also looking at very robust system organization. Like I said, we have 300 products at this point in time on market. And when you're talking hundreds, thousands of data points at some point in time, trying to make sure that everybody is using the right information and has what they need, that is a really, really important thing for us, is making sure that we have that organization within the system. Again, traceability, bringing everything forward when we need it. When we're growing at the speed of light, the way that we are, scalability, flexibility is obviously top of mind. This is huge for us. I can't even begin to tell you, one of the most exciting moments was actually we launched in Costco earlier this year. For those who are in the CPG space, that is like the crowning achievement, is to be able to be in that space. And everything that comes along with every new retail edition, every new marketplace edition, and now the international expansion that we're looking at, Propel has really grown with us. And that has been one of the most incredible things, is it's continued to be looked at as a solution for every single new hurdle that we come up against. And as the company that we are a completely remote workforce. We have 250 employees working across the globe at this point in time. Single source of truth, real-time updates. Everybody has the information exactly when we need them to have it, and it really honestly is what allows us to work in sync and stay together with every single effort that we're doing. So we're all seeing the same information, we're all saying the same thing as well. So with that, of course, you have to have great technology. I think this is actually kind of fun, getting to hear some of the other people's challenges that they've come across in the room. It's very relatable, so I hope you get a couple chuckles, maybe at my expense even, here, as we take a look at some of the issues that we've run up against with Propel.
Yeah, on the technical side, my first challenge was, it was a new software. My background is in chemistry and quality. I'm not an IT person, I'm not a developer, so then when they said I was an admin of Salesforce, that was a little intimidating. So I found out that you don't have to be an IT person to master your own environment. So I dove into Trailheads. I looked up every YouTube video you possibly can. And I just dived in. And I realized I was really proud of what I had accomplished with Propel. The learning curve is real, but it's not a wall. It's just the first hurdle you have to get through. And the second challenge was that there was resistance to PLM adoption. When I first rolled out PLM, I only had buy-in from quality, and that's only one corner of the business, and I had so much ground to cover. And the next quest I had to go into was handling product development, and that's Jen over here. And she was difficult. She challenged me every second of the way, every question, why is it even beneficial? But it turns out she was a huge challenge, but she turned out to be my biggest believer. So today, I just want to reiterate, find your Jen, find your champion, and then everything else will follow.
Thanks, Diana. I'm glad that it proved to be beneficial. I recognize now in this day and age, probably shouldn't have been so hard on you at times, for sure. But I will say it has led us to really be able to look at things like our cross-departmental adoption of Propel PIM. This was pretty challenging for us in figuring out how we were going to bring people outside of technical into our world. So this is bringing marketing and sales and all of these other pieces and components, and how do we make the information that we are collecting every single day make sense to another team? And actually, when we were going through the implementation of PIM, they asked us what was going to be one of the KPIs, what was the key metric for success for us? And I was like, not get so many emails from my sales team. That would be amazing. And it has actually come to fruition. The product team in general, CI is part of that, used to be pinged multiple times, whether it was Slack or email. Sometimes they would ask the same questions to 5 different people at the same time to see who would respond the fastest. Yep, that has stopped. And Propel has now become the first place that everybody goes to look. And that's when we knew we really had hit a point of success. Just like others have said today, when people start saying, well, I looked in Propel first, that's when you know you've really hit the mark with your project for sure. And that really just, yeah, I don't think there's anything else that can be said on that. So then lastly, moving into that really is our user adoption and support. A couple of other folks, again, have talked about implementing their own training system and Propel office hours. And that was actually something that we implemented last year. I remember sitting with Diana and a couple of other team members, and I said, you know, I really think that people could use Propel better. They could function in it better. I sit and I watch you do all of these things on our webinars, and I think it would be really amazing to have you all show everybody else as the experts how to function better in Propel. And since then, we've been doing office hours for over a year now. Yeah. And we've actually launched into a new phase of our Propel office hours.
Yeah, this is something our team is super proud of. And we built something called our office hours in our MaryRuth's University. It's a learning management system that we have utilized in our team. And now, we took everything that was dry and technical and gave it a complete glow up, and people currently love it. Every user now has a great learning path no matter where they start, and they feel accomplished at the end of the day. Because the system is only as good as the people who are using it, we wanted to give them something better to come out of it. And MaryRuth's University is our platform to teach every single one.
Yeah, and that ties really nicely into our last piece is when you're working in Propel, whether it's adding on to it, your first time implementation, you cannot forget about the people component. That is one of the most, if not the most important things. I think that was one of the toughest lessons that Diana and I both learned in working together on our efforts. I oftentimes tell my team, project managers manage things, but people get things done. And so it is your role and responsibility when you're sitting and working on these new phases and rollouts and implementations to make sure that people are included in that. And whether that's your business owners or finding your executive sponsor that is going to be your champion in every single one of your meetings, I cannot stress how important those different pieces and components have been to our success in utilizing Propel across MaryRuth's. So just a couple more things. As far as my role, I actually oversee all of our product development lifecycle. At this point in time, I think we have over 300 active projects related to product, specifically from reformulations to new product development and everything. Our old processes within, or before Propel, I should say, and even some of our improvements along the way, we were looking at a development cycle greater than 6 months, and that's just the actual development piece, not ideation to warehouse, manufacturing, and things along those lines. And so we were really finding it difficult to get to market to speed. We couldn't execute on things. We were missing documentation when we went live. Retailers would come back and ask for more information. We didn't have it. And as you can see here, everything on this screen probably feels familiar to several folks in the room. And what Propel has allowed us to do is we now have that accelerated time to market. So when I'm saying development, this is from the moment we send an RFQ to one of our contract manufacturers until we are ready to purchase the product. So we have our PO heading to that co-man. Our co-mans are pretty consistent, luckily for us, with our lead time. So we have a very regular cadence when it comes to our development. So from ideation to in warehouse and ready to launch is 9 to 12 months. For those of you who don't have context in that, most CPG VMS companies are 18 to 24 months, and some even have as long as 36 months in their development cycle. So the joke is we move at the speed of light. I frequently tell my team, Star Trek nerds in the room, we're at warp 8 and we're trying to get to warp 9, and we're gonna get there someday. And so the new goal is getting that down to 2 months as much as we possibly can when we have those efforts come through. So lots of data is another big piece of this, right? We have to manage the data.
Just in PIM itself, we hold 25,000 data points, and it's growing. And that's just a testament of all the complexity we had to build into Propel and make it work for MaryRuth's.
Absolutely. And so really, when you're looking at this, Propel does have the ability to be a catalyst for your organization. However it is, it has been huge in our success, whether we're looking at development or quality traceability and things along those lines. It has been so important for us to make sure that we're in sync across the board so that we can actually move at light speed with our development.
But there comes a point where you can't just go based on belief. You actually need numbers to back you up. So this year we got our Nucleus study research back, and we were in awe. It was amazing to see the work that actually has been done and actually see the data associated with it. We were able to get faster launches. We got fewer errors. We got inspection reports down from a couple days to hours. And we got 100% audit success with multiple audits that we were able to do. And we were able to reduce the time of an audit by 50%. And from there, the monetary picture is just even brighter. With Propel, we were able to get our money back in less than a month. In every dollar we put into Propel, we get $7 back. And then in just 4 years, we were able to generate more than $4 million in measurable business value. And every year, we have an ROI of 1,500%. When Jen and I first saw these results, it was just a great validation. We were pushing boundaries and trying to get this stream to happen, and the truth actually shows it here. And the dream is great, but what it took to get there was a little difficult, and we want to show what we've learned through our time here. There are 6 things we want to walk through with you today, and the first one was that you need to prioritize requirement-driven implementation. Looking back, the biggest thing we learned was that nothing on our timeline was planned. Everything was pulled forward from a real business case and need, and we solved the problem first. We saw results. People came back and asked, what else can we do? And we always said yes, and we put it in our timeline. The next was technology adoption. It was a learning curve, not just for me, but for my whole team. And when the platform actually starts solving their pain, they feel a sense of relief, and they suddenly start bringing you all the ideas, and you just start building Propel to be this massive living thing that people actually want to join in and work forces with you.
Absolutely, and that is just going to build your collaboration across the board. As people start to see what happens, you're going to have more and more people want to be invested in your efforts and your projects, and that is exactly what we found. We are proof that business and technical can absolutely be at odds, and they can find their common ground, and they can move forward, and that's a huge part of where we feel our success lies, is the fact that we could find that common ground, and really it was about how do we make things easier for everybody else downstream and what we're trying to do. With that is obviously proving ROI. Diana just said it, 1,500%. I mean, it's unfathomable, really, in a lot of ways to think about that. When Diana showed me the numbers, I was like, there has to be an error. This does not seem right, that this is what our 4 years of work has led us to, but it absolutely has, and really being able to say $8.4 million in cumulative benefits over the last four going on 5 years now has led us to where we are. It is just absolutely incredible. And we really earned that, you know, showing those wins very early on and being able to build upon that with every new iteration that we were looking at.
Yeah, and Jen and I, we just continue to strategize. We never stop. It's an every quarter meeting that we try to improve, and we build upon the system. We have the QMS, we have a PLM and PIM, and now we're going to AI, and it's just a never-ending strategic platform we can continue growing from.
Absolutely, and really the end goal is Know Everything Project, single source of truth. We want to have everything at our fingertips and a moment's notice, and that is really where we're going. And we want to build this not only now for our larger operations team, like we're moving beyond quality and product, and now we're talking supply chain, and we're talking inventory and compliance. Now we have our marketing team coming to us and our sales team coming to us in international. And so it's really this opportunity for us to continue to grow the business and have that place where everybody is relying on one location to have everything that they need. So with that as our foundation, we have a very bright future. Like Diana said, I'm probably the worst I was the person who said, I don't believe that this is going to work, and now I'm the first person who goes, so Diana, I had an idea. Do you think Propel can do it? And most of the time the answer is yes. It's usually yes, but,
yeah.
And then we reprioritize. But with that, we're moving into some really exciting frontiers, actually, for us as a business.
And we're obviously starting off with Propel One. It is one of those new phases that we know has brought everything that we've built from the start together. It's going to become that unified platform that all of our team members can actually reference by and just move faster and go at the speed of light that MaryRuth needs to go. And then our next initiative is bringing in Supplier Community. We work with formulations, our supplier partners, every single day, and it's finally time to put them in a platform where we can actually communicate and keep our IP secure.
Absolutely. You know, for those of us in the room who've gone through the struggles, we actually work with over a dozen contract manufacturers. That doesn't include individual ingredient suppliers and packaging suppliers and all of those things to maintain our product inventory. And so really being able to pull that out of managing those relationships through email threads and shared drives and things along those lines, Supplier Community is a huge, huge opportunity for us to really be able to take ourselves to the next level with everything that we're doing. And then in that, obviously, end goal for us is having an ERP integration. This has been something that since I heard about it, I went, yeah, we need to do that. We definitely need to do that. So being able to get our data in a good spot, using Propel One, having Supplier Community is going to be able to have that end-to-end true traceability all the way around. So we actually have a true product lifecycle management feedback loop on itself. From the moment an idea pops in somebody's brain until we decide to retire it and we no longer have inventory and we deactivate a SKU. So really, really exciting for us. So who knows? Maybe next year. I have no idea what we'll have to talk about next year, but we're very excited to get to come back and chat on all of the new exciting improvements that we have. We did initially think that we were maybe going to have time for questions, but we don't, because it's really important we get to the next talk. So I do want to say thank you all for your time and attention to the Propel team and to the MaryRuth's team here with us.